I live a mostly boring life in a small apartment complex in the middle of nowhere. I don't have any friends or family around, and I generally spend all my time listening to music and watching videos online. My name is James, named after one of the 12 apostles. I guess in my life I haven't lived up to that name very well. I'm currently unemployed as well, as I have been fired recently for what they call harassing a coworker. Yep, my life is pretty depressing. Something weird is happening right now, however. A moving truck is parked in front of the apartment building. No one has moved in or out of these apartments as long as I can remember. The people moving in turn out to be a young couple, as I can hear them in the hallway. I decide it's best if I get out of my apartment for the first time in a long time and go greet the new tenants, or maybe even help them out. I notice that my doorknob won't budge, which stuns me, as it is unlocked. I've never had an issue with it before. I hear people stomping up the steps like a stampede before stopping at my floor. This puzzled me, as I knew that every room on my floor was taken. Maybe they made a mistake, I think. My thoughts are abruptly cut off when a woman opens my door. "Whoa, I think you have the wrong apartment," I say, startled and stumbling backwards. She ignores me. "Hey, I think you have the wrong apartment." I step to the right, trying to get a better look into the hallway. The woman is stuck in the doorway with her head turned back, talking to the other people carrying boxes, some clearly movers and some friends. "Hey guys, someone lives here, haha," I say in an increasingly firm tone. They still ignore me. The woman walks right past me, ignoring every word I say. I get aggravated and shout at them to leave, eventually threatening to call the police as they carry more and more boxes inside my apartment. I scramble for the phone to call the police when my blood stops cold in my veins. "You can barely tell someone died in here," a man says jokingly. For a moment, I'm terrified at what I hear, before that emotion quickly turns to anger. What the hell is going on? This has to be some kind of sick joke, but I do not know these people. I start storming over to these deranged lunatics before the woman seems to look directly at me, then turning her head slowly to get a view of the entire room. I can't understand why such a young man would throw his whole life away. I mean, he was only in his 20s. He had his whole life ahead of him. Don't you think it's a bit weird living in a house where some guy our age blew his head off in the bathroom? She says in a sad tone, but confused. I punch the wall, making an audible crack as I hurt my knuckles, confirming that I am in fact alive. Why wouldn't these people see or hear me? They all turn their faces to the wall in shock, clearly hearing the sound I made. I look down at my knuckles, and despite feeling the scraping off of the top layer of my own skin on impact, there is no sign I have done anything just now. I notice the faces of everyone around me drain of any color, their faces turning ghastly white as one of them goes to speak. They start an entire conversation about the noise of my fist impacting the wall, but not understanding where it came from. I get a sharp headache, and I fall down to my knees, making another audible thud when my knees make contact with the fake hardwood floor of the kitchen. I grasp my head and groan. I quickly begin to realize I couldn't remember a single thing before I woke up this morning. Not a single thing that has happened in the past few years, at least. The couple taking a tour of the apartment complex before deciding on my room, I managed to forget or not notice entirely. I couldn't remember anyone coming in to clean the apartment and take away all my stuff, yet I had no possessions. I never really watched YouTube at all, I just stared at the blank TV screen that comes with the apartment, imagining I had hooked it up to a PlayStation to watch YouTube and play games. I never really did anything at all. I just woke up every day and stared at emptiness before watching the trees outside my house change over the seasons, not remembering the previous day every single time. I didn't even remember shooting myself in the head a few years ago after losing my job. The only thing I had left in my life and the only thing keeping me from becoming homeless. The reason I got fired, I believed would have kept me from getting another one. Realizing my eternal fate, however, I know now that it isn't worth it. I absolutely hate knowing about what has happened to me. My sadness becomes anger as I realize I now have to live with a couple. The reminder of my past and a reminder that I am no longer alive. I want to live. I want to wake up every morning believing I am alive again, even if that life is extremely depressing. Each day will be like the first day dead, and I won't even know it. I have to get rid of the intruders in my apartment. Creeped out at the sounds I have made, the woman shoots a look at the man she is with. Clearly understanding her concern, he comforts her. "I'm sure it's nothing, Em. It was probably just some noisy neighbors. This isn't gonna be like your parents' house, you know." He pauses, thinking to himself, before chuckling. The woman lets out a nervous chuckle too. I know what I am planning on doing is wrong, but it's the only way to get my life back. It's not like I'll remember tomorrow anyway. It hits me. Thoughts of a less violent alternative leaving my already blown out and decayed brain. I can't wait indefinitely to try and force them out. Killing them is the only choice. I can't leave any permanent mark on anything in the apartment or myself. Tomorrow I'll wake up with these people in my apartment for the first time. Who knows if I'll even think of this idea? I need to act as soon as their friends leave. My only option seems to be with my bare hands. I stay quiet all the way up until they go to bed. Their bed is exactly where mine was. I will have a real bed to sleep and wake up in. Once they are definitely asleep, I look at my clock on the oven. It reads 11:20 p.m. I slip into my bedroom and silently tiptoe over to their bed. My bed. The sound of my footsteps muffled by the carpet anyway. I feel like a thief in the night, not like God, not the positive connotation found in the Bible like my name, but the true meaning as it relates to my life. I am James, just some random guy with no friends or family. I am unemployed and live in a small apartment in the middle of nowhere. There is nothing special about my boring, monotonous life. I correct myself in my head. I am not like a thief in the night. I am a thief in the night. It is in fact nighttime. I am in fact a thief. I am stealing their lives and their home. I am making those things mine because they are mine. I crawl on top of the woman because the man is pressed up against the wall, sleeping. They are completely silent, neither of them snoring or making a single peep as they rest. My legs begin to shake, my hands completely steady. I stare at her face, feeling regret for my actions before I even carry them out, but deciding to kill her anyways. I quickly shove my hands down onto her neck, clenching down as tight as I possibly can. She begins to thrash around, hitting the man in the process. I didn't even notice him wake up before hearing him shout, "M!" as her face turns purple. He starts frantically throwing his arms on her and looking on in absolute and pure horror. He scrambles to his feet and runs to get the phone, calling 911. I can hear him describing her having what he thinks is a seizure as my grip begins to loosen. She escapes my grasp and begins gasping for air, coughing and gagging as she attempts to recover. Unable to watch her struggle any longer, I bring up my arm, now feeling like it weighed over 1,000 tons. My fist comes down so hard on her that her already barely conscious brain shuts off instantly. Her head falls to the ground, and, clearly knocked out cold, she starts making sounds that certainly only have a place in the hot, fiery depths of hell. Her body sounds like it's making one last attempt to send as much oxygen to her vital organs as it can when I start swinging her head into the wall to get it to be quiet. Tears stream down my face and I scream as a result of the pain in my body as one side of me attempts to force me to stop, my other side obviously winning out. I know exactly what I am doing and that I can't turn back anymore, yet I did not want to believe it. I force myself through. The man sprints into the room, crying and dropping the phone in his hand. The instant he sees his partner's mangled head against the wall, he slips and falls onto his back. I drop her onto the floor as I run over to him. He is completely lost it at this point, gripping his head as snot streams down his face. It hit him instantly that M was dead. "Why?" he screams. "I'm sorry," I respond. I know he can't hear me anyways. I lift up my right leg and immediately bring my foot down on the man's head with as much force as I possibly can. Blood splatters against the wall as he lets out a horrifying, high-pitched squeal. I look down to see that I broke his jaw. I see his eyes stare back at me, rolling back into his head. I am unsure if he is conscious or not. He takes one struggling breath before I bring my foot down on his head again, somehow even harder this time. This time he was definitely unconscious and almost surely dead. I let out a deafening scream and repeatedly kick his head in until bits of his skull become lodged in my heel, falling out as my skin is unable to be pierced. I fall to the ground and cry so hard I nearly vomit, if I even can, although this may be due to the copper scent filling my nose from all the blood splattered everywhere around the room that now seems incredibly small. The blood rolls off me and onto the floor as if I'm covered in some kind of waterproofing solution. In the fetal position at this point, my tears stop. I begin laughing as hard as I possibly can, losing my voice as I do so, my screaming and crying prior to this being the main contributor. I laugh until I can't laugh anymore, my voice practically no longer existing and my ribs feeling like they might break. I begin to fall asleep, not caring about cleaning up the mess. I could deal with it tomorrow. It doesn't matter what I end up thinking about it. All that matters is that I am now rid of my reminder that I am dead. I am now fully and completely alive. I force out a few more giggles as I fall asleep.